You are listening to Packers Talk Radio Network.
PackersTalk.com. Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or non-profit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Cards.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
Am I here, guys?
You're here.
No,
right.
you're not here.
You're not here. It's a
I
figment of your imagination.
called it right as the music was starting because, monkeys. But hey, we're out of the pocket. How's that for a late entrance? I'm Kelly. Joining me as always is the motley crew, known as the Pocketeers, Colleen, Annie, and my brother, who is here under duress because I told him he has to show up or I'm going to kill him. My brother Jay. Yay.
Yay. Yay.
How bad is that? I'm like, Jay, you have to show up today. I don't care if you're really busy, and I'm the one that's late. So, hey, 5-0. Woo!
So much excitement. It was great.
Even the crabby husband went to the game yesterday, and now he's crabby today because, I should have gotten all this stuff done, but now you dragged me to the game. Oh, boo-hoo, you had a good time. So, without further ado, I will turn this hot mess over to my brother Jay, and we will talk about the game from yesterday.
Fantastic. So tonight will be a hot mess because Annie has informed us that she may need to step out periodically to address work issues, and I have no way of knowing from my end if she's there or not. So if I ask a question, I might be doing my Clint Eastwood empty chair impersonation, asking Annie a question where she's not there. So we'll do our best to get through it. We'll see if she's there. So I'm back after a week hiatus. Midterms killed me, but I survived, so it's all good.
All right. Your fault. It's your fault who wrote the test that you did, dude. Cry me a river.
Yeah, cry me a river. I'm sorry if I want young Americans to learn how to write. So there you go.
Yeah, but I think you found your next evil genius sidekick, which I think is awesome.
Yes, we did find my next evil genius sidekick. All right, but anyway, enough about that. People want to talk football, not me belly aching about my real life. Football. So, 5-0. It was not the prettiest game in the world, but there's no style points in football. It's better to win ugly than lose pretty, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll open up the floor for discussion about the ugliness. So was this truly an ugly win, or was this just good competition they faced? So discuss if this was an ugly win or not, and I'll throw it to Colleen first, because you were at the game as well and saw it in 3D.
I was over there. The only thing ugly about that game is I know that at one point Kelly actually had to watch Mason Crosby kick because he missed.
Woo! I did not watch. I swear to God, I did not watch. Why?
I do not believe you. I do not believe you. First thing I said is,
all
Kelly,
right, ask Rob. He's like, why are you not watching? I'm like, you know I am not watching. And I did not see a single thing that he kicked, honest to God, except for a kickoff.
I looked at Jenna Hammond and I said, Kelly was watching, and I looked back because we were sitting kind of down in front of where you guys sit. Anyway, yes, I thought it was an ugly win. Obviously, Aaron threw a couple picks. That's never a good thing, even though none of them really totally came back to haunt them. I never felt like the game was absolutely in jeopardy, but the Rams aren't a bad team, and they definitely put up a good struggle. But, yeah, I definitely felt it was an ugly win. There were drop balls, there were interceptions, there were just things. If it wasn't for the defense, this game would have turned out very differently. And when is the last time any of us could really say that consistently?
The Ford administration?
We have vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry.
Yep. So Annie, you go next. Kelly's being penalized for arriving late, so you get to go next.
In the corner you go. No. So here's where my head is at. First and foremost, I did not get to watch. I was in the car on my way back from Grand Marais. Thankfully, we got the Packers Radio Network up there. Apparently, it's close enough to Wisconsin where we do actually get to get the Packers Radio Network, so that's positive. I did listen to it. And so from somebody who did not actually watch it, I guess I got home and my brother was like, oh, it's terrible. It's like we wanted to lose. But I think that, the defense played really, really well from my perspective. Clay Matthews was all over the place. Rollins has his 2 interceptions, one of them for a pick 6. In my opinion, it's not so ugly when your defense completely murderball everybody. Like, I think that, they say defense wins championships. I think that is accurate. The offense doesn't have to score 47,000 points in order to bring home a win. Aaron can have a day that's kind of a letdown with the interceptions and with that fumble. Yeah, he's going to have bad days too. And when we have a defense who can actually pick up the slack on that and take out their offense as our defense did, that actually kind of makes me excited. So to me, it really wasn't like the letdown or, kind of one of those ugly wins. Sure, the offense was a little ugly, but in the end, I think that it actually encouraged me to see that the offense can have a bad day and the defense will still pick up the slack.
Yeah, good points. And so since you saw it you listened to it on radio, is that the same as 1D? Was that a 1D broadcast?
I actually don't know, but I do know that Wayne and The Rock are very fun to listen to, so I rather enjoyed listening to it. And I get super stressed out when the win is kind of, when it's all up to the defense and blah, blah, blah. So listening was kind of nice in that way. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you're
I'm out of timeout now?
No, you're in perpetual timeout. We're just giving you a chance to come for dinner right now.
All right, so probation.
Yep, you're in double secret probation 0.0. All right, so you were at the game with cranky husband sitting in your seats, and you apparently did not watch Mason Crosby, so we'll take your word for it.
I did not.
So was this an ugly game? Was this a good win, an ugly win? How do you describe this game?
It was really an ugly win, and can it be a trap game when the other team's good? Because for a while it seemed like a trap game. It's like, oh my God, you're making all these stupid mistakes. And playing down to where they were playing. Yeah, Rodgers didn't have a good day, but his stats still weren't that bad. He was like, 20-some, 19-some. I wrote the stats. I sent them to you, and I don't remember, but he wasn't horrible. He had 280-some yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a sorry state of affairs to the running game when your quarterback has the most amount around, and he had some pretty impressive numbers running. Jay, do you have the stats?
39 yards.
89 yards. That's like a running
39
back.
yards.
39 yards. I'm like 89. I'm like, whoa, we really have a problem with the run game. But you're gonna have one of those stutter step games where it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and at least we didn't lose it. And I was really happy with the defense, like everyone else was. But I think what's wrong with the offense can be corrected, and I think it just proves that our team is human and we can move on from that. I don't think we'll have as stinky of a game next week. God, I hope not. But, I'm okay with it. It wasn't pretty. Like I said, there's no style points in football. But a win is a win, and we're still in the Elite 5 that are undefeated.
Yeah, very good. So I've been thinking about this starting last week against the 49ers, and that was also kind of an ugly win. So I started to really kind of think about this. I know it's a scary proposition. But what I'm thinking about it is, yes, I think these wins the last 2 weeks were on the uglier side. If you look at the offensive output, they were a little bit ugly from that standpoint. But the defense has been pretty lights out 2 weeks in a row. But what I've been really thinking about, and this is what we'll open up for discussion, is I choose to find some hope and some silver lining in all this. So I know you're wondering who kidnapped Jay right now. I'm sensing hope. Yeah, there's hope. There's hope right here because these were two back-to-back sort of ugly offensive outputs where the team won behind a total effort, mainly led by the defense and even some special teams. Now, thinking back to this style of game, between 2012 and 2014, I think the Packers would have lost ugly games like this because they didn't have the killer instinct. They didn't have the knockout punch in their arsenal. But the back-to-back weeks, they have overcome adversity and they have won ugly games, which in my opinion, they would not have won the last 3 seasons. So do you agree with that, yes or no, and explain why? And Kelly, you go first.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think if this was last year, they would have completely collapsed under their own panic. This is what makes this team closer to a complete team and reminds me a little bit, like I think, was that you, Jay, that tweeted yesterday that this defense reminds you of the 96 Packers?
I talked about that,
maybe. Yeah. Okay, that was you. All right. In the past couple of years, and even last year with Rodgers with his gimpy leg, the team really relied on him. And what I was really impressed with yesterday is he really relied on the defense. Things weren't clicking with the offense. It really seems like the receivers and Rodgers were on the wrong page yesterday. Ty Montgomery watched run like a completely wrong route. Richard Roberts was dropping things, and Aaron was throwing to the wrong team, which is an oddity, but okay, it happens. But instead of collapsing and going into prevent mode, which drives me bananas, or just panicking and making complete stupid mistakes on both sides of the ball, the defense was like, it's cool, we've got it. And that's something that's really been lacking since about 2010, where you could really count on the defense, to put the pedal to the metal and just play lights-out football for an entire 60 minutes. And that's what really – I have to agree with you. I think that's what makes this team different than the past couple of years, even though the Packers were just a couple mistakes away from going to the Super Bowl last year.
So, Colleen, what's your take? Colleen?
Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. I hate it when that happens.
You got muted.
I've got the mute.
How long was she talking to herself going, God, this doesn't make any sense. Nobody can hear me? What? Hello?
Yeah,
I don't know, but no whammies. No whammies.
I said 5 words, and then I figured it out.
This is like when you drop a call with our mother, and she, talks to herself for, 2 minutes, Mom, hang up. I'm not there. I'm trying to call you back.
This is like when I'm talking to Kelly from her driveway, and she just, stops talking, and I'm like, she hung up because she had to because her phone dropped. This team reminds me of 2010 in a very good way because right now Aaron's playing healthy. He doesn't have the receiving core he had that year. Obviously, they're stripped down a bit due to injury and whatnot, but they do seem to be cohesive. The defense seems to be playing scrappy and stepping up, and the special teams is not great, but it's not bad. And if you look at 2010, that's one of the best years that they had under he who shall not be named because he got fired. So I'm very encouraged that they have been able to not play especially well on offense the last couple of weeks and still pull out wins. The 49ers aren't any good, so they should have been able to blow that one away, and they didn't. That worried me. The Rams have a good team, and while it wasn't a beautiful win, it was a solid win, and I give them great credit for playing well against that caliber of a team.
So, Annie, you're up. Finish out the topic and make sure you hit the mute button so you're not muted.
I am not. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, we can't.
Hear now. Lies. Okay, so here is where my head is at, and I mentioned it before, and Jay, you hit on it as well. Every team, I really don't care who you are, is going to have a letdown game. Other than the 72 Dolphins, even the Patriots, when they had their 16-0 season, lost the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you're going to have those games where everything is not clicking on all cylinders. Does it look a little ugly? Yeah, it does look a little ugly. Okay, that's just fine. But again, it encourages me and makes me happy, makes me excited even, that the defense can step up and carry it. And it makes me excited, too, for when the offense is clicking again. If the defense can keep it going, then, I mean, shoot, we'd be unstoppable. I mean, the fact that we're actually able to be a pretty solid team in the Rams, yeah, they're not great by any means, but they're pretty solid, and they have a really good defense. The fact that we were able to take them out when our offense was struggling, only scoring 17 points, and still able to hold them to what we did as a defense, Clay Matthews all over the place, just everybody stepping up. That actually makes me really excited. Maybe I'm way too, glass is completely full. I have no idea. But I really enjoyed listening to that game yesterday, and I guess maybe it's because I didn't watch it, so I'm not all, jaded, but whatever.
And actually, if I could hop in just for a sec, when you mentioned the 72 Dolphins, Annie, friend of the show, we can say that, Mike Freeman wrote a really great book about their undefeated season. It's called Undefeated, I believe. I read it. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. And, Mike, you owe me money now. But one of the things that's interesting about reading that book is how rough that season actually was for the Dolphins and how much adversity they had to overcome to win every game and the Super Bowl. I'm not saying our team has that kind of grit yet, but I'm encouraged. You see that cohesiveness, that teamwork, that solidarity, and that preparation, and the coaching. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So it sounds like you're all in agreement that the defense is carrying the load right now, and it's the offense that is struggling. And yesterday, Aaron Rodgers proved to the world he is, in fact, human. He's mortal. And he tossed 2 interceptions and what could have possibly been 3, so he definitely had an off game. So let's talk about what may have led to his off game. Is he pressing too hard, perhaps, or is the Rams' defense just that good? Or are we, and by we I mean the Packers, the proverbial we, man, are we missing Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams that much? So, Annie, you go first. What is your take on Aaron Rodgers showing he's mortal?
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing because Aaron Rodgers demonstrated that even when he's mortal, he has the leadership ability, even when things are a little off, if he's struggling a little bit. I think that his leadership and, actually demonstrating that he's not perfect all the time is what makes the rest of the team want to step up for him. Do I want Aaron Rodgers to throw interceptions and fumble the ball? Of course I don't. I mean, come on. But let's be honest. He hadn't tossed a pick at Lambeau Field since 2012. It was bound to happen eventually. I mean, it just was. And now they can shut up about it and not blather on about it every time the Packers have a home game. So I'm kind of cool with that, too. But what I did like was Aaron has a rough game. The rest of the team really steps up, shows that they can rock it out. And you look at James Jones, the dude just nailed it. Yeah, I'm sure that receivers were missing some routes sometimes and so on and so forth, but I really think that the rest of the team stepped up and helped them out. And again, I didn't see it. So I don't know what was going on with the offensive line. I don't know if it looked like there were some bad routes. I don't know those certain things. But the sounds of it to me was the rest of the team really kind of, rallied and made sure that we still got the W in spite of Aaron's struggles.
So, Colleen, what's your take on reasons why Aaron Rodgers showed the world he was mortal yesterday?
Well, there were a number of reasons. The Rams have a great defense. They were making him run around. They showed why we should have been worried about watching the Packers play them. They intercepted the ball. They were in the right place at the right time. We had it was Lang that went out, right? So Barclay came in at that point, I believe. For a while they kind of went back and forth, but we had Bulaga back, but Bulaga was playing on he's got a bad limb there, so that's got to be tricky. I think there was all kinds of things going on. The biggest thing that struck me, I think he is pressing hard. He knows that this could be the year, and I cannot tell you how many times I screamed slide because that bully's going head first again, and things don't end well when he goes head first when he's running for yards. So I mean, he kind of stepped back and maintained. He's obviously a very brilliant quarterback, but he needs to not try to do it all himself. I think the receiving core is not what it would be with Jordy. Obviously, Cobb's still a little wounded. They're starting to figure Jones out. He trusts Jones, and Jones is great, but there's a reason he got cut by these other teams, not only so that we could pick him up and win. But so I think there's a lot of things, but I really think they have to just keep doing what they're doing, keep working on what they're working on. Rodgers Richard needs to learn how to break a tackle. I had a friend comment to me that he's going to start calling him Bubba, as in Frank's, because he drops whenever somebody hits him. So, I think there's a lot of things going on there. But Aaron's solid. It was a weak game for him, but a weak game for him is a great game for a lot of quarterbacks.
Kelly, finish up the topic.
Okay, I'm going to start off with I disagree on James Jones. He didn't get cut for a reason. I don't think I agree with that. I think people are covering him more knowing that Aaron is going to go to him, much like he went to Jordy in the past. When his back's against the wall, he's going to go to his old faithful. And Jones was running clean routes. He wasn't the one dropping balls. A lot of this was on Aaron. I think he had an off day, but what really struck me is how very rookie Ty Montgomery looked yesterday. There were some really kind of sloppy routes, I thought, that he zigged and Aaron zagged, and then you could see the look on Aaron's face. He didn't chew butt, which I thought he was going to do, but he didn't. But just the look of I had binoculars up my nose, please see. He looked pretty frustrated that there was either a lack of communication, because he obviously had a place where the ball was going and Montgomery wasn't there a couple times. But as far as Jones goes, I don't think it's a lack of skill, because all he does is score touchdowns. I think he's pretty successful in his catch rate right now. I don't know if that's a stat, but when it goes to him, it's going to land in his hands. And I think defense realized that he's going to be, when Aaron's desperate, is going to be the primary target because he trusts him. I think it was really telling that Aaron misses Devontae Adams, where last year Devontae said he had to earn Aaron's trust. Yesterday in the press conference that Devontae has the potential to be a Pro Bowl player, which really, that's a pretty high accolade from Aaron. And I think he really misses that presence and that dependability, because Montgomery will be good, but is he there yet? No, he's very much a rookie and making rookie mistakes. And I think, wasn't there one pass that went to Jeff Janis that was just totally screwed up? Yes, no, maybe?
I
Janis
don't remember.
I don't think Janis is somebody Aaron trusts as of yet. So that leaves James Jones, Richard Rodgers, and hopefully Ty won't drop things on the receiving core. And then you've got Richard Rodgers, who had an off day, that had brick hands, that things went right into his hands, they dropped. And he ran some poor routes, too. So I think this is where we're hopefully going to see the benefits of the quarterbacks and the receivers all in the same room dissecting film, that whatever communication breakdown they have, they can hopefully overcome it. I think, Devontae Adams, I still think, and they're never saying, probably has a high ankle sprain. And now he's at least halfway through the rehab period, because it's usually 4 to 6 weeks. And he's missed, 2.5 games now? 2.75, whatever. And hopefully they'll be ready to go in the nearer future. But I think what also contributed to the poor game is you were playing musical chairs at right guard yesterday. Lang went down, he was hurt, and then it got worse because he brought Don Barkley in, who was not there very long, and then they went to Walker, and I don't know if he was an improvement on things. But hopefully, this gives them some food for thought, and that as a receiving core and the quarterbacks can sit down, they can dissect the mistakes that they made and hopefully come up with a plan to improve on those mistakes so that they don't happen this coming week against San Diego.
So I agree with a lot of what all three of you said, but I'm also going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate and have a little dissent of opinion. Was it Aaron Rodgers' best game? No. Did he play absolutely lights out? No, of course not. We all saw that. He was errant on some throws and so forth. But when you look at several different things, I don't think it's as panic-worthy as a lot of Packers fans in the Twitter box are making it out to be. First of all, the Rams are an outstanding defense. They have a championship-caliber defense. In my opinion, the Rams are about a quarterback away from being contenders for the NFC. That's how good they are as an overall team. So Aaron Rodgers played a very tough defense, and receivers just don't come open that easily against good defenses. But when you look at his 2 interceptions, the first one was really an outstanding play, the tipped ball. That was just kind of fluke. The ball bounces 1 inch the other direction. It's not an interception, so I'm not going to hold that one too negatively against him. I'm not going to give him an F- grade like PFF does for that. So that was just a fluke tip play. Great effort by the Rams. We'll give them that one. The second interception was not Aaron Rodgers' best throw, but the thing that bothered me the most about that interception was the thing that has always been James Jones' criticism, where he tends to stop on routes and doesn't drive back to the ball. He doesn't fight for the ball as well as other receivers do. And if you watch the interception again and again, you'll see how he's committing the cardinal sin of wide receivers, and that is waiting for the ball to come to him and not attacking it. And so it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' best throw, but if he went to attack it, it may not have been intercepted. It may have been a contested ball, but instead the cornerback made a great play and just drove on the ball and intercepted it. So it was not a good throw, but James Jones could have done more to prevent that interception than he did. And then another thing I noticed, this is just watching the broadcast of the game. I didn't watch any sort of fancy coaches film or anything, but the Rams were basically challenging the Packers to have anyone but Randall Cobb beat them. They double covered Randall Cobb pretty much all day, which is why he had only about a few catches. So the Rams said, okay, let your rookie, let your James Jones beat us. And ultimately the Packers did beat him using that, but it was really hard to do that. So the Rams put a blueprint on film right now for other teams to copy, and that blueprint is as long as Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson are out, we can double cover Randall Cobb, take him out of the game, and then the other receivers have to step up. And I think they will. I think Ty Montgomery will step up, and James Jones will continue to play lights out. So that's my take on my long-winded dissent, but I thought I wanted to get that out there. So speaking of the offense, we'll continue the discussion. It wasn't a great running effort yesterday either. It seems like Fat Eddie had trouble getting some traction. Starks had trouble getting traction as well. So you can't really put all the blame on the passing game. The running game seems to have struggled. So we'll throw it up to Colleen first. So what were your observations about the running game or lack thereof in yesterday's game? There were a few runs, but you're right. Eddie didn't seem to be getting a whole lot going. Neither did Starks. My assumption, because as I previously stated many times, I'm not the X's and O's and watching film girl or woman or whatever you want to call me. That's more your department. Jay, out of between you and me anyway. I wonder how much of it is just they weren't doing good run blocking. You could probably address that better than I could. The field was fine. The weather was beautiful. So the turf that having actually been there, I can say the field looked in great condition. It was not Soldier Field. So I don't really know what was going on. And maybe it's because Eddie's still playing a little bit hurt. Like I said, it could have been the run blocking. I'm not really sure, but yeah, they never really could get it going, and that obviously hurt the passing game, which then led to interceptions and all those bad things that happen when you don't have a balanced offense. Right. Yeah, very, very good point about that as well. You got to have balance in your offense. So, Kelly, I know that when you sit in your seats, you tend to watch the offensive line play quite a bit and look for running lanes. So what was your take on the lack of a solid running game yesterday?
I think that the offensive line had their hands full with the Rams defense, and Aaron was really hurrying up a lot. There was very little play action from Aaron, too, which I think he just didn't have a whole lot of time to set things up. And as a result, I think that the Rams had their number, knowing that if Aaron struggles on the air, they're going to try to go to the ground, and they really stymied that. I think it came down to the line really had their hands a little too full. And then with Lang going down, it made it all the worse, because usually if Eddie can't get things going, Starks can, and neither one really had a whole lot of breakaway runs. There wasn't a whole lot of lanes that were created, and I think that's ultimately what it came down to, is that Eddie had a bad day or Starks had a bad day, but the fact that they both did tells me that the line really struggled against the Rams defense.
So, Annie, we know you didn't see the game, but you listened to it in your 1D radio broadcast. Now, the radio broadcast is really good because I think Larry McCarron does a really good job trying to describe the running plays and the blocking assignments. Mm-hmm. So was there anything that stuck out that what Larry McCarron was saying about the lack of a running game?
He really didn't say a lot, and that's what's so interesting. I'm trying to think about the broadcast yesterday because I was dialed in on that sucker, and I think if there were any comments that he was making and anything that I seemed to pick up on his implications were the loss of Lang in the second quarter, which, this is just my opinion. He didn't really say much about this, but the loss of TJ Lang probably really did affect and throw off the balance of the offensive line. So I certainly think that was part of it. Also, let's be honest here. They have a damn good defense. We've been saying that this whole podcast. Their defensive line is good. And so for an offensive line, and then an offensive line that is hobbled with losing T.J. Lang halfway through the second quarter, you're going to have trouble with your running game, because now not only are you dealing with a good, really good defensive line, and already it can be tough enough to deal with that when you're trying to create running lanes, but then also losing Lang means that now you're trying to bring in other people or play, musical offensive linemen, and then you're just a hot mess at that point. So, yeah, it's kind of stinky that Aaron Rodgers had the highest number of yards yesterday. That's not a good thing. It's been a while, especially with Lacey being a part of the group, that we've heard that. But at the same time, you have to give him a little bit of a break because, again, we still scored 17 points against them in spite of all of the issues, and they have a really, really good defense. So I think that the running game is fine. I think it's going to bounce back. And also, who knows if Eddie was dealing with any lingering issues with his ankle. That's another thing to consider too. I even mentioned to my brother about Aaron that maybe he's got a minor injury or something that's just throwing him off just that much, that could be causing a problem. I think that's when those letdown games can happen. But the same with Lacey. Maybe he's having an issue with his ankle still, and he's just kind of fighting through it, but he isn't at 100%. So. Oh, also, my staff just called me texted me to call them, so I would just skip me on the next question, just so you know.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for letting us know.
Okay. Yeah.
So I want to wrap things up on offense, switch to defense, but first I have just one more talking point to throw to both of you about the offense. We've all agreed that the offense has not been in their top form the last 2 weeks. So kind of the last concluding point, is there a problem on offense? Even Aaron Rodgers admitted yesterday that they don't seem to be clicking. They are struggling. So what's your take? Is there a problem on offense? Should we panic or should we just relax? So, Kelly, you go first.
I think we should relax. It's one crappy game. And, last week they struggled too, but they were on the road, and I'm willing to give them a pass on that. We're still 5-0, so what are we freaking out about? It's not like we're 1-4 and we're like the San Francisco 49ers that look just absolutely terrible. We had a bad game, but we still managed to win. So I think we just need to relax. Yeah, next week's going to be a challenge against San Diego, but we're not looking as horrible as we think we are. I think a lot of mistakes that the offense had, I think they can improve upon. I think, Lang said, thank God, his injury's no big deal, which tells me it hurt, but he'll be good to go is my guess. Bulaga will be one more week healed. I think we'll have a stronger line again next week. Unfortunately, I think everyone was game planning Barclay to be a tackle And it's like, congrats, you're a guard today. And I don't think he was ready to step it. Yeah, chill out. It's not like we even lost. Gosh, we're overreacting, and I think we're all really good at it.
So, Colleen, what's your take on all of this?
I think we have a solid team. I don't think there's anything to panic about. I said it before. Without Jordy, with Randall hurt, they're going to figure out the way our receivers work. You said it perfectly, what I was trying to say, and I didn't probably say it very well, Jay, when you were talking about James Jones. He's a great receiver. I'm glad we got him back. But there's a reason he wasn't paid Jordy Nelson money, and there's a reason he's not a Jordy Nelson on a team right now. And you put all of those things together, plus injuries on the offensive line, we're going to have problems. As long as God knows, I hope that Aaron is healthy. And he could be right. There could be something. They start getting banged up this time of year. But provided that that's not the case and he's healthy, he can get us out of most of these situations. But it's hard when your number one receiver's gone. It's hard when your number one running back has a bad ankle. I mean, it's hard when your offensive line gets hurt. So they're struggling, but they're still winning despite struggling. That's very hopeful. That's a very positive thing to me, that they're making it work somehow. They're getting it done.
So I lied. We're not going to go to defense yet because I have a follow-up question. I'm calling an audible because I happen to think of something while both of you were. I'm a liar. I got better. So this is the audible I'm calling because both of you said something that was just very up to the minute. So earlier this evening, I was reading the beat reporters tweet out the press conferences from the different Packers coaches, and Edgar Bennett basically said something along the lines, and so offensive coordinator Edgar Bennett said something along the lines. I'm going to get the quote wrong, but it's along kind of this: our offense is aware of their mistakes and have a good understanding of what they need to correct. So based on that comment, what do you think are the mistakes and what are the ways to correct them? And I'll go with you first, Colleen.
I think that they're going to have to continue to work on getting the timing down between Aaron and his receivers. Obviously, he and James Jones have good chemistry and good trust, but James has been away for a couple of years. You've got Ty Montgomery, who's, very young and very new. You've got Randall, who's hurt. All these things have to continue to coalesce. I think that's a lot of it. And then, please, Lord, let us have an offensive, healthy line. Thank you, God. If I was Catholic, I'd say Hail Mary or something to get that. Mistake, I don't know that you can say there's a lot of mistakes other than we have a lot of very young players, and they have to learn how to work with the quarterback. And the quarterback's got to calm down and not get his little huffy self stomping around the field, getting all irritated at guys, either, which I saw a little Aaron face yesterday. I understand why he does that, and it's appropriate in some respects, but he also has to understand that these guys are still learning. And a lot of them have stepped into roles that they never expected to be in already.
So, Kelly, what's your interpretation of Edgar Bennett's comments during his presser?
I think they need to continue to work on chemistry. I think that the younger receivers need to get better at running their routes, really knowing where they're going to be, knowing that they can trust their quarterback to put the ball right in their hands, even if they're not looking for it. I think that they're going to have to – Aaron has to also start to get more comfortable, and I think that's going to be a part of that two-way trust of throwing to his second and tertiary choices, because it's going to be Cobb, and if Cobb's double-teamed, it's going to go to Jones, and everyone's going to cover Jones knowing that he's going to be the one that they go to, which means that he needs to get a lot more comfortable. And I think it was rather telling after Montgomery totally screwed up and was in the wrong place that Aaron trusted him, and he still managed to put one in the end zone. He trusted him to, okay, you screwed up, I'm going to give you a second chance. It wasn't like he's going to turn his back on him entirely, you screw up and you're done. That Aaron was willing to still throw to him. And I think that they just need to keep working on the chemistry between the two of them, their timing, and then I think you cleaner routes. I thought there were a lot of sloppy routes yesterday. I think, and just the fundamentals of not dropping the stinking ball. You know, Aaron wasn't firing rocket balls. They were definitely catchable, especially that one to Richard Rodgers. But I think it's going to be where we really put their money in where their mouth is, and really take advantage of the opportunity they created by having the quarterbacks and the receivers break down film and work together instead of in two separate rooms. So if there's any communication breakdown, they can fix that on the front end, and then move forward from there.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. And also for our listeners out there, tonight's vocabulary word is tertiary. This podcast is brought to you by the letter N and the number 2. So do we have Annie yet? Is Annie back? I'm guessing no.
Survey says no.
Survey says Annie is predisposed. All right, so let's switch to defense now, because they were the star of the show. They really stepped up big time. They gave up a few big plays here and there, but they really did step up as a whole. So how about Clay Matthews? He's a boss. So how is the middle linebacker experiment going, and how is he balancing that with his pass rush off the edge? So discuss Clay Matthews in his new role on defense, clearly being the on-the-field leader. So, Kelly, you go first with Clay Matthews being a boss.
Okay, I went out of my way to actually pay attention to Matthews, because I've been very critical of the past, where he's played uninspired ball, and he seems to just go in the past and say he'd just fly off in the wrong direction. He wouldn't be able to adjust. Yesterday, I just happened to at one play, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch what he does. Having binoculators, as my daughter would call them, and I was actually training it on Matthews. And the one play I happened to really pay attention to was where he lined up in the A gap between St. Louis's center and their guard and left guard, and nobody seemed to notice or care that he was there. He practically walked into the gap, and as soon as the ball was hiked, he was flattening Napoleon Dynamite. You know, he is got this killer instinct that I don't think he had last year. He was intense. There's that photo, I think, that the Packers took of him airborne, horizontal, going over somebody. He is a lot more physical than he was last year, and I think, has he always been an inside linebacker that was trapped in an outside linebacker's body? Because he's got this ferocity that I have not seen since 2010. He's playing a lot cleaner. He's got this killer instinct. He ended up with 1.5 sacks. I think he could have had a lot more if he wasn't held a lot, and that didn't get called. But he's got the timing down, and I think he gets into quarterbacks' heads. I think I laughed last week, and he was like, "You ain't no Russell Wilson, bro." I think he's dropping these bombs, and he flattens people kind of like what Reggie White used to do. And he's like, "And the Lord bless you and keep you," or whatever he used to say when he'd flatten them. He flattens somebody, and he gets them nervous. But it isn't just, based on, hype, hair flipping and reputation. He really is a lot faster this year. He is tossing off blockers and is sneaking into these gaps and really just has the jump without going off sides, but really is getting one step in front of even though they can't stop him.
So, Colleen, what's your interpretation of the new and improved, reborn Clay Matthews?
I like him playing inside. I liked him playing inside when they started working with changing him around last year. I think it's improved. I don't know if he had a lack of confidence. It's hard to say. He certainly doesn't come across as it. We don't like it when opposing people do the belt, but it's okay if he kisses his biceps. But I would say that he seems to be rejuvenated by having the versatility that he has, and that maybe, stretching a little bit here, that A.J. Hawk was kind of the quarterback of the defense. That was, the company line anyway until he left, and they've kind of had to transfer that on to somebody. Clay's a smart guy, no doubt about it. He's obviously very talented and has been. So I think maybe he's just kind of enjoying this new role and maturing into having a different role in the defense than he had before. And it helps the defense tremendously that they can move him around like they do. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, do we have anybody else that can do all this? No, we don't. So the fact that he can do what he can do, line up inside or outside, is such a benefit And he is not the A.J. Hawk of the defense and losing his helmet anymore. I believe that is now John Kuhn on the offense because he loses his helmet now. just as
I'm back.
Top observation.
So was that Annie? Did you say she's back?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah,
So
that was
Annie,
a real high-tech notice that she's back, by the way.
Yeah,
hey,
so,
we're nothing but the epitome of technology here at Out of the Pocket.
Well, considering that we are having a podcast spanning 3 different states and about 1,500 miles, we're doing pretty good right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
We're doing pretty good. So, Annie, we're talking about the new and improved, born-again, beast mode, have a game Clay Matthews in his hybrid role. So do you have anything that you want to discuss about his contributions to defense, being the on-field leader now, just being a boss as a hybrid?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you know that a player is having a heck of a few games when the team practices with a dude in a blonde wig just so that the defense can practice, or the offense, offensive line, can practice looking out for Clay Matthews. I mean, the fact that the Rams practiced with a guy in a blonde wig points to the fact that they were definitely nervous about him specifically. And secondly, the fact that Clay Matthews still came out and had a beast of a game. Like, other than that one play where Torrey Gurley basically ran him over, which was, like, crazy. But I actually did see that clip when I was looking. That was one of the only clips I was able to catch today. But other than that, it just highly entertained me that Clay still came out, still murderballed people. Yeah, he's still Clay. Yeah, he still seems kind of, young at heart, I guess, in the way that he tends to operate and the silly things he says, like, you already know Russell Wilson. But the fact that he was still able to come out and have the kind of game that he had, in spite of the fact that the Rams clearly game planned for him specifically, I thought was pretty awesome. And second of all, I'm excited about the fact that he's really kind of seems, at least, to be stepping into this leadership role that they really needed after A.J. Hawk, parting ways with A.J. Hawk, kind of needing that, defensive leader on the field. It seems like Clay has really started to embrace that and to be that person on the field that we need him to be, and is really settling into, like you mentioned, the hybrid role, lining up pretty much anywhere that they need him to line up and still, like, wreaking havoc and making such a big difference on the defense. I think that he's really started to kind of come into his own with that particular role. So I was really excited about it, but I was especially excited after the week of practice that the Rams were having to game plan for him.
So let's continue on the discussion of defense. Another player that is improving as the season goes on is Clinton Dix, our starting free safety. Last year he was a rookie. He had up and down moments, and he seemed to improve towards the end of the season and then really became a solid contributor during the playoffs, despite that 2-point conversion in Seattle. He could have fair caught, but we won't talk about that. And this started this season off a little bit rough. A lot of poor form, a lot of poor angles running down receivers, and maybe ducking his head during tackling. But it seems to me that he's really improved over the last 2 to 3 weeks and is really becoming a solid contributor. I'm not ready to call him a star in the making right now because it's still too premature, but he's improving. So have you noticed this in his play? And if so, what about his play has stuck out the most? And we'll start with Kelly first.
All right, first of all, Roll Tide. Brett Bielema. I'm going off on a tangent. Suck it, big boy. Boss hog, you lost it to the Tide. Well, anyway, speaking of the Tide, Clinton Dix. He's not playing like a rookie anymore. I think he's making smarter decisions. Yeah, every once in a while he gets a defensive pass interference, but you know what? I like the fact that he's taking the chance and is close enough to know what chewing gum the other guy is chewing on. I like his aggressiveness. I think hopefully the ratio to successful play breakups versus DPIs will go up. He seems to know where he is in time and space a little bit better this year. His technique is a lot better. He's not as sloppy. Occasionally he'll have an Ole type of tackle attempt. But, with other people dropping out with injuries, I'm comfortable with him there. I know that he's not going to give much space to any receiver. And if he can jump the play and get an interception, he's going to. Every once in a while will be pass interference, yes, but I like the fact that he plays aggressive ball.
So, Annie, I know that you didn't see his play, but I'm sure Wayne Larrivee was very descriptive in HaHa's play, especially that long streaking play down the sideline that HaHa chased down and prevented a touchdown. So what can you say about what you heard about HaHa's play yesterday?
Well, when his name came up, it seemed very positive. I mean, he notched, I think it was solo tackle, and then had the interception and definitely played all out. I think he tackled the guy on the 6-yard line or something to prevent the touchdown, and that was huge because, I mean, he didn't allow any touchdowns, and so it was huge to, see his effort. Like Kelly mentioned, he's not playing like a rookie anymore. He is going all out. He's not giving up on plays. And then he had his first interception of the season yesterday. That was really, really exciting because he's paying attention. He's jumping routes. And so, based on what I heard, he had a very good game yesterday and is certainly demonstrating why he deserved to be picked where he did. I think he's turning into an excellent player for the Packers, and I'm really, really excited about him. So I was especially excited to hear that he had an interception yesterday. So well done, HaHa.
So, Colleen, what are your final thoughts on HaHa Clinton Dix?
First of all, I just realized that he is exactly, to the day, 6 years older than my youngest child. Oh, my gosh. That's not that much younger. I said this yesterday, he's starting to live up to the number that he is wearing because he's starting to do everything that is expected of him. He had a fantastic game yesterday, and I got to have the best moment ever when he got the interception because I got to go, ha-ha, just like the Simpsons. And so did everybody around me.
Nope, I yelled Roll Tide.
I went, ha! Everybody in my set, 131, was like, ha! So that was great. He's, time, and it's you've made this point before, Jay, especially having watched him as closely as you did when he was in college. It takes time to make that transition to the NFL, but he had a great game yesterday, and he's a huge reason they won. Depending on what you look at, he had 6 or 7 unassisted tackles, plus the interception. He played very clean ball, and I think he's starting to get there. He's young, and he's healthy. Let's keep our fingers crossed on all of those things. Well, the healthy part. The young part's going to pass. It always does. But I thought he had a great game.
The future is in front of him. He's only going to get better, and he's a playmaker already. He's only going to become a better playmaker. And as you mentioned, Colleen, I did see him in college quite a bit because I watched all kinds of Alabama games. And what he's doing now for the Packers, even going back to the NFC Championship game where he one-handed intercepted Russell Wilson, those are the plays I saw him make in college. And I didn't see him make last year early on because he was still figuring out the pro game and overthinking things and not just being a natural athlete out there, just reacting instinctively. But yesterday, that interception in the end zone where he had great body control and great awareness and just snagged the ball out of midair before it hit the ground, that's what we saw in college, and that's why he was a first-round draft pick. So if that's what he's starting to click now, it's only going to get better, and the future is very, very bright for HaHa. I'm very excited, and I'm happy he's wearing green and gold for us. So we have time for one last topic of discussion before we talk next week and roll the credits. And so speaking of the defense, how about another fellow that have a game, Quentin Rollins, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. So, Kelly, I will give you the privilege of going first because you're the only person in the entire universe that said the Packers will draft Quentin Rollins in the 2nd round last year. And sure enough, they did. So you go first. Discuss your boy. Have a game, Quentin Rollins.
Loved the physicality yesterday. For a kid that only played 1 year of football, and that just absolutely blows my mind. He has got passers figured out. Not only was he running and keeping up with the receivers, he knew exactly where Nick Foles was going to throw, and he was jumping routes, not once but twice. And he's got that athleticism you see with a basketball player, that vertical leap, which really translates well into being a defensive back. And that's about the only thing, because you don't dribble or anything like that. But he showed a very high football IQ for a rookie, and I was really impressed with this. And I think now with everyone dropping with injuries, he's going to get more playing time. And I am really just chuffed that he did that yesterday. I figured he was going to have a breakout game this year, because both he and Randall have had just a wonderful OTAs when they first came in as rookies. They have both had a good camp, and I think it's paying off dividends now. Where we've been talking in the past couple of games of how well Marius Randall has been playing. Didn't really see a whole lot of him yesterday, but you saw Quentin Rollins really rise to the occasion of getting more playing time. He didn't play a whole lot of downs, but when he was there, he was capitalizing on everything. He was jumping routes, and what I liked about when he had his pick six is he did not look back. A lot of people look back. Are they up there? Are they going to catch me? Are they going to catch me? He did not have a rookie mistake. He just took the ball and ran for daylight. And I was really impressed with that.
So, Colleen, what did you see yesterday in Rollins' breakout game?
To tell you the truth, this is one of those things where I go, yeah, I know he's out there and he's a guy. But part of the problem, as I said,
she's honest. Come on, give her
part of it. Well, I suck. But part of the problem with being at the game again is that you get caught up in you're watching. The thing that's nice about watching on television is that you get to watch individuals very specifically, and unless you have your binoculars, which I don't have any, or I need to dig my dad's out and take them next week, but you don't tend to zero in on one person per se unless they make a big play. He played well, and I would not have predicted him to get taken in the second round because I had no idea who the heck he was before he got drafted. But, he played solid. And all of these choices that Ted has made is a very big reason that the defense is coming together the way they're coming together. They've made decisions like getting rid of players that I didn't agree with, just because out of personal fondness for them. But you bring these young guys in, and they learn the system, and they get it down. And whether it's Rollins or Clinton Dix, whoever, once they start clicking, if they're good, they're good. And he played very well.
So, Annie, I know you're in a difficult spot from only hearing the game. But did Wayne or Larry go out of their way to praise Rollins? Did they say anything about his game in particular?
It was lots of loud noises, and, just really being impressed with kind of, quote, what this young kid is doing out there and things like that. I think that, since this is our last topic, I want to touch, too, on Dayton Jones. I mean, one of Rollins' interceptions was due to Dayton deflecting a pass, and so that was kind of fantastic. I thought Dayton had a good game yesterday as well. But Rollins, just as Kelly mentioned, I think she really covered the topic eloquently, that, he is really has demonstrated that he's good at jumping routes, at knowing where the quarterback is going to throw the ball. Clearly he's paying attention to, the quarterback's reads. And the confidence, when you have somebody like that who's young and has the confidence to know that they can jump a route without missing and, potentially the receiver still catching it, and then they're caught with their pants down because the receiver can then take off because they tried to jump the route. I mean, for him to have that confidence, I think is fantastic, and I'm just really excited to see, where he goes from here, because clearly he has a lot of potential.
So I'll round the topic out on defense, and then we'll look ahead to next week for the Chargers and roll the credits. But I'm impressed with the defense as a whole. And there's a remarkable shift in the overall attitude I see from the fans, especially on Twitter. No more this season are we seeing #FireCapers, because the defense is performing very admirably. But also the last several years, a lot of Packers fans were like, Capers has to go. His time has passed. The Packers have invested all these draft picks in defense. There's no improvement. But kind of the undertone you heard every now and then kind of from corners are, well, the Capers scheme is good. They just don't have the players to execute the scheme. So it's a personnel issue, not a coaching issue. And I think this year that's true. Capers finally has the players he needs to execute his scheme, and it's working, and the defense is playing lights out. So very quickly, I know we're in overtime right now, but we'll go around the horn very quickly. Short answers. Do you agree with that assessment or not? Is Capers' scheme good and needs that good players? So real quick, around the horn. Annie, you go first.
Yeah, I do. I think that he has demonstrated that he's really been able to bring together this defense, and I like Capers. I always kind of have. I was never really a fan of the Fire Capers hashtag in the first place, if I'm being honest, but I'm really excited to see that he's putting together some great schemes for the particular players that we have right now.
Colleen.
Honestly, Jay, for another show, I would like to hear you talk about Capers' scheme and how it may or may not have changed, because one of the things I saw today, very briefly, is that his scheme may have simplified slightly, and that may have helped the personnel we have fit into it. But the defense is playing very well this year, and Capers is capable of, to turn a phrase, of putting together a really good defense and using the players he has very effectively. He's doing that this year, and yeah, go Dom, go Toupee. Ooh.
So before I throw it to Kelly, I'll just say to you, Colleen, you're absolutely right. Capers has changed his scheme quite a bit. It's more simple but more aggressive, and we'll talk about that for another show. So that's what we call in business a teaser for next week. But Kelly, finish up the whole topic on Capers.
I finally think he has a secondary that he's wanted to execute, which I think, for a while the secondary slowed down. First it was Charles Woodson, who had hit a plateau in Green Bay. I think you're seeing a renaissance, a guy emerging from the ashes right now, is having really good performance now in the twilight of his career. But you had Woodson, and I know people here, Colleen included, have loved Tremont Williams, but I think he was becoming the boat anchor that was dragging them down on the secondary, and that's one of the reasons. It wasn't that they wanted too much money. I think he had plateaued with his dead shoulder. And I think we finally have the aggressive secondary that we haven't had since 2010. I think we're finally clicking and on the defensive line. You finally have Raji back, who really hasn't played much in the past 2 years, and suddenly he's healthy and he's back. You throw somebody like LaTroy Guion, and now you have Dayton Jones and Nick Perry finally stepping up, and you're suddenly getting this complete package. And then the final thing I think that really clicked into place is moving Clay Matthews. I think he was too sloppy as an outside linebacker, and I think he's having his coming out party as the little debutante, as the inside linebacker. It's his cotillion this year, and he's kicking ass and taking names. I think moving him really just kind of lit a fire under his butt and found a passion for football that he's been lacking for a couple of years. I think things are falling into place. I agree. I think it's simpler. We're not trying any, bells and whistles, fancy nouveau psycho package or anything like that. We're getting down to the fundamentals of an aggressive defense that just squashes any running game, and it's something that's been lacking for a couple of years. We're able to stop the run, and we're able to do it consistently.
I guess that qualifies as a short answer for Kelly. Very good. I agree with that. So we're into overtime now. We're running late, so let's look ahead. Next week, we are hosting the Chargers, the afternoon game. So let's go around the horn and make some predictions. So Kelly, Colleen, Annie, go in that order, make your predictions.
I think I'm on mute and help. Oh, no, I'm not on mute. Hey, it worked. My stupid phone locked.
Yeah, you're not on mute.
Okay, the optimist in me, since I'm going to the game with my old man, says the Packers win. The pessimist in me says the undefeated party comes to an end. I think it could go either way. The whiny boy, Phil Rivers, is a dangerous foe. Whiny. He's whiny. I still have that picture from trolling the Smile Cherry show. That's what's in my head right now. Yeah, I could go either way, but you know what? The Packers, the revenge tour continues. I don't know if they have any revenge against San Diego. They don't, but I think they win. I'm not going to give a score.
Colleen.
I think they win. I will also throw out there that there is a group gathering at the Green Bay Distillery to have a tailgate because it's kind of throwback weekend, and some of us on this current podcast might be there, so if anybody wants
Can
to
I
show up.
bring my super old 70-something-year-old pop? You know, if I mention
Please bring your dad, because I've only seen the back of his head.
Okay, I just have to mention snacks to Dad, and he'll totally go, right, Jay? It's like
I will have beer and snacks to see the front of your dad's head.
Free food to my dad, and he'll be there.
Awesome.
So if anybody wants to meet my old man, come up to
show up, and the Packers will win.
Guess who I'm bringing?
Who are you bringing?
I'm bringing Henry.
You're bringing Henry?
Henry is coming. You guys get to meet him. I'm so excited. No, I'll be there. I'm going to be there with my brother.
If you want to know what my brother is going to be like in 30-some years, come out to the game, meet my old man.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. He's a pretty cool old man.
Yeah, but he goes scamming for free food like Dad does. Dad goes
No. Dad
is
not the Packers fence guy scamming free beer. Dad just likes food,
Dad likes food, so if there's snacks and popcorn, especially my pop will be there.
I will have delicious popcorn for your father. Promise.
Yes, my old man likes food.
Old man. He does.
If you want to come to the tailgate, bring your beer, bring your brat, bring a side.
Bring your old man. Bring your old man.
The young girls, we're good.
We're in overtime.
BYOD. Bring your own dad.
Bring your own dad. Bring your own dad. Bring your own beer. Bring all the above. The Packers
so next week the Packers do play the Chargers and roll the credits. Roll Tide. Hashtag karma. Hashtag karma.
Bring your old man.
Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or nonprofit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to Waukesha Sports